Hello. So next we're going to be doing something called Crayon Crinkle. And we sort of made up that name, but the title sort of says what it's about. Hopefully by now you've looked at some of the examples. It's a really fun activity. It's really simple. So I have already ahead of time drawn a really simple picture. So the first thing that you need to know about Crayon Crinkle is because you're going to be doing thick, heavy crayon, you want to focus on doing a picture that does not have that many details. So here you go with a very simple butterfly. And I have not quite completely finished coloring it. So I'm going to go ahead and finish coloring it so I can show you how heavy you need to color it. So when my kids are doing this, I am telling them that you need to color so darkly, so heavily that you are leaving crayon dust behind. So I'm going to finish my green here. Heavy, 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 heavy. Okay. And you might think that I have forgotten to color part of the wings, but I actually did white crayon. Using white crayon is a lot of fun. We don't get to use it very often. And in this technique, it works really good, so it's fun to do. I also chose not to color the very edges of my picture. You could certainly color to the edges. I just think that it looks great and it's a nice pop to have a white border. And it's not really going to be white once I paint it, but it's going to look a little bit different from the rest of the picture. But generally speaking, whatever art you're doing, you want to tell your class to just cover the whole piece of paper with crayon. We don't want to leave any white areas. So looking, you can see that's pretty dark. I am sure that I could have done it a little bit darker, but just for the sake of time right now, I'm not going to. So number one step is you draw your picture and you completely color it. Okay, the next step, which is like, is you're going to crumble it. And the kids are like, what? Yes, you are going to crumble it carefully. And then you're going to open it back up. Being mindful of the paper because it's not super sturdy paper. This is construction paper, but it does tear easily. We're going to do that 2 more times. So crumbling, opening, that's the second time. And typically 3 times works pretty good. This is by far the most fun part. Okay, so color, crumple, and then you're going to pick a paint color that has not been included in your picture yet. So you always want to have one color for your whole class for the background. So I'll usually say, oh, today we're drawing butterflies. Do not use red when you color your picture because red is going to be painted on. So I have not used any red today. So next step is I am going to cover this completely with tempera paint. Tempera paint, okay, thick poster paint. Cover the whole thing. And this is when the kids are like, I don't know. And you say, just trust me. Go ahead and cover the whole thing with paint. And I'm going to be using a thin little brush today. In class, I usually use a pretty wide one, just so that this step doesn't take much time. And when you paint it, I'll start painting it a little bit and then show you. When you paint it, you're going to cover the entire thing. And you really want to get in all those little crannies that have formed from the crumpling. So I'm just going to take a second and cover the whole thing. It does not take long. I am not going to do it very carefully because I just want to get this on really quick. All right, so I'm nearly done. And I don't have to go exactly out to the edges because I don't have my crayon there, but typically you want to cover up your whole page with paint. Okay, here we go. So completely covered with paint. All right, so color, crumple, paint, and then the very last step is to rinse off the paint. And if I were in my classroom, I would put this under the faucet with water that was really gently running. And I typically stand back there. The kids come and put it in the bottom of the sink. The water is coming down on top of it. And I just take a brush and I just lightly wipe away the paint until it's mostly gone. I'm going to do it a little bit differently. So I have a little basin of water. I feel like I'm in a cooking show. I have a little basin of water, and I'm just simply going to drop this into it and take my brush. I'm using a wide brush to brush away the paint. Okay, so it's into the water, and just gently, and again, the paper is not super sturdy, so you don't want to scrub. I'm just gently wiping it off. It doesn't take hardly any time. And I'm just going to show you an example of when it's not quite done. So there, the paint has started to come away. I would spend a little more time. I'm going to actually just hold it up over my basin and just wipe off the paint a little bit more. Wiping off, wiping off. Okay, there we go. And that's what it's going to look like. And then you're going to leave it to dry. And I have one that I did a while ago. Different looking butterfly, but same idea. And you can see just as it dries, it starts to lighten up, and it's super cool looking. And that, my friends, is the Crayon Crinkle.